What's up guys, Sub-Zeric here, back for another VOD review. Today, doing another VOD review of Project PBE, and now VOD reviewing our new rank 1 PBE, Kojnid, who we just VOD reviewed a few days ago, but now he is rank 1 PBE. Just, I mean, look at those scores. Nothing like, no firsts in there, but no bot 4s either, and that's really what his match history has looked like for a while, and sometimes with a few firsts sprinkled in there. And today, you know, we VOD reviewed the Graves and Fiora type stuff yesterday, and Kojnid utilized that comp a lot at rank 1, but there's one other comp that he used a ton to hit rank 1, and I want to take a look at it today because, you know, I think it's, I don't know if it's flying under the radar, but definitely, you know, I would say a bit underplayed. So we're going to start off here. Because we have this orb drop, we can just sell everything and make 10. I mean, you're basically always going to be able to do this here. Very interestingly, Ezreal can solo out 1-4, and even more interestingly, if you check out this diagram from the Mindful One, you can see every single one cost can solo 1-4. It's very strange. We do not usually see this. Usually it's like 1 or 2 one costs, maybe 3. But all the you know, the fighters and the tanks can solo. All of the actual carries, if you put them in the bottom right, can solo. So this is a world where you can do this whenever you want to. Something like Ezreal's fantastic at doing it, obviously. And then you can take something like Patience is a Virtue and then just have the world's freest lost streak opener. Notice that he skipped AFK for Patience of Virtue, but I think people have just realized that the amount of economy that you get from Patience of Virtue, especially if you're in a spot where you can start off with something like a Timebreaker opener, is just disgusting. So we are going to take Patience of Virtue, and then we are going to team planner out our entire board here, which is this Channeler, or Conduit, as it is now known, Reroll line. So you play Misfortune Viktor duo carry, you play a lot of 3 costs in there, and then fit Rost on top of that board as well, so that you can get all of the Rost type stuff, you know, get, for playing so many units, a ton of free stats, and the board just looks great. So that's what we're going to play this game. One of the things that I've noticed after watching Kojnid, or playing this comp myself really, is like many reroll lines, this line is very, very, very specific about the items that it wants. And we're actually on a pretty good path to getting some of them. So the one item that seems to be absolutely core on Viktor, interestingly enough, is JG. I don't actually have an amazing explanation for why this item is so core on Viktor. My only intuition is that you usually, there's actually, you know, 2 items, but one that you don't even build, that really matters. It's JG, and then it is the drone from the Psionic. And my only explanation for this in my head is that perhaps there's some kind of synergy with the drone damage. It says, okay, maybe, you know, your spell crits, and then the drone damage, you know, sees that crit and then can maybe crit on top of that, and so you can get almost like double crits there. That's the only reason I could see why that JG would be so much better than any other item. I mean, the reason why it should be quite solid is that, you know, it's another axis to scale Viktor's damage on, so it should be quite good. But, you know, why JG is a million times better than something like a Giant Slayer, I couldn't really tell you, but it is. And so you really want to be looking for the drone and looking for JG. Man, these are actually both really, really, really good. I usually default to taking Shared Wealth here, but I mean, yeah, Scuttle Puddle is so good that I think you can pick this up here. We 3 lost, so we do get access to 2 3 costs. Pretty unfortunate, actually, that we can't get any of the ones that actually go onto our board here, because there are so many, but all good. We can just pick this up here. Okay, first big decision point of the game. Are you interested in locking for this Ornn? Are you interested in buying this Ornn? Are you interested in skipping this Ornn? Because, I mean, if you lock for it, you're losing shop refreshes. If you buy it, you're obviously losing shop refreshes. If you skip it, you're losing out on an Ornn. So we'll see what we want to do here. It looks as if he's just going to skip it and say, you know what, this is actually one of the least important units to hit, especially this Ornn unit has kind of been nerfed a decent bit. He got rebuffed a little bit today, or I guess it was yesterday at this point. But he really is not that crazy of a unit. So yeah, we're just going to completely skip by the Ornn and say the stuff that really matters is the Viktor, the Misfortune. As far as tanks go, the Maokai is somebody that you'd really like to play for. And wow, look at this. He sold completely out of Time Weaver in order to try to int out the other player who's full loss streaking here, Motive at 69 HP as well. So he says, you know what, I am not willing to lose my loss streak, even if that means that, you know, I lose out on Time Weaver, or Time Breaker. breaker, it's okay. I'm just going to do this, which is it's wild to me, but I mean, it makes sense, right? I mean, would you rather have one reroll or rather keep this 5 loss streak, which is going to give you, you know, eventually like 3 gold per round, depending on how much longer we keep it? I mean, a very good call from Kojnid. It's painful, but it makes sense. All right, pick up the Misfortune here already, which is fantastic, and we're going to get, of course, the 2 anvils here, and now we see a Viktor in our shop. Once again, we have to kind of make the decision. Do we want to lock or do we want to buy? And yeah, he was looking at locking. I feel like we're going to wait a few rounds and then level, right? So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it's a buy here, and then you know, chill 2 rounds and then level. We do get the JG like we talked about. Glove is going to come down for a very likely Misfortune item, something like an IE, something like a Shojin. Also, I have to sneeze. All right. And we're going to go into second Augment here. So IE gets made here for Misfortune. We're going to wait and see Augment here before we want to pick something else up. I mean, min-max should be pretty solid here just to guarantee all of our items on everybody. I guess you could take Invested here. I would probably look at min-max here. But yeah, Weighing Overflow is also really, really good. I would potentially take... Well, the problem, the Trifecta is actually a really funny augment in this comp because you play so many 3 costs, you're actually very often missing your most important one. So I think this one's actually not that good either. I think I go Wand Overflow, then you get to make, what, Death Cap, like Crown Guard, Morello. A lot of good stuff there, I would think. But we'll see. I mean, you do have the ability to just take him in max here. He's looking at it for sure. And yeah, it does look like it's going to be Wand Overflow here. And he's going to make the Death Cap, the Morello. And I would guess it would be the Crown Guard down the line. Yep, Crown Guard. Makes perfect sense. All right, these items look very, very good. So yeah, BAS on this Viktor unit is really JG plus the drone plus 1. Ideally, it's an AP item, like very ideally, almost necessarily it's an AP item. So that's usually Death Cap, or Archangel is a lot easier to build because it doesn't require, you know, the triple rods of JG plus Death Cap. So it's, yeah, usually something like an Archangel JG drone. He is a really good Morello holder as well, but I just don't know how you actually fit Morello there on top of those other items. I've seen, you know, like an Archangel Morello drone, but then you just don't have the damage via something like a, you know, a JG to get there. So I do feel like you kind of require the JG plus the drone, and then you can really go from there. Even maybe throw Morello's on top of that, but then you're in a world where he just doesn't have all that AP. So it all kind of feels bad. Morello, but it ideally goes on him. Oh, this is actually really funny. I guess in hindsight, knowing that this is Ari Portal, we shouldn't have actually pre-pumped all the way because we could hit the 10 EXP here. Because honestly, the 2 5 costs, I mean, they're fine, but they don't actually do that much for us. I would have actually preferred to take Ari here with the, I mean, the cloak is actually pretty good as a frontline item. Yeah, so, okay, I guess good thing to kind of put in your mental textbook of what you do this set is if you're playing Ari, don't pre-pump EXP here because, you know, you could potentially get this. Because now we kind of have to take the 2 5 costs, but I don't think it does very much for us. You know, this board eventually will add 5 costs, but there's not really... even one that you would want to play on this board. I mean, if you drop out of Ornn for something like a Shen, it's probably fine, but you're obviously losing a trait, which, you know, feels a little bit bad. But okay, we have fully sacked here, down to 38 HP. Now it is time to send it for the board here. Let's see that roll down. Mr. Kojnid here just full sells the board and is going to buy every piece of unit that he can throw on here. Still missing something. I'm not actually sure what it is. Oh, it's the Gragas. Yeah, I was like, there's somebody that we're missing, but we do finally pick up the Gragas. We get the drone in. We get the Morello onto Misfortune here, and we are going to reforge, looking for, I guess, Shojin, GS, okay. GS Declaw he opts to make here and just says, you know what, I'm just going to skip the mana item on everybody and make the Declaw here. It's interesting, MF, for whatever reason, looks a little bit better with mana gen, even though they're both conduits. You know, because both of these units are conduits, you can usually get away with building any kind of mana gen on these guys. So you don't have to build the blue buff or the Shojin or the adaptive on them. If you do end up in a world where you build Shojin or blue buff, MF seems to be the one that looks a little bit better, but, you know, her stats are a little bit confounded. You can put like her and Viktor into the stats, and even in those stats, she looks a little bit better with mana gen. But you can certainly do what Kojnid is doing here and just not build mana gen entirely, because, well, they're conduits, right? They're generating extra mana already, so we don't really need to give them mana gen. Also, Also, note the positioning here. He's putting Viktor very close to the middle. Viktor is one of these big AoE units. His damage does not. He's not like this, you know, like Mecha Karma in the past, where it's like, okay, her damage has a little bit of like a fall off. You know, like if she hits a bunch of units, she does the same amount of damage spread out between them. No, that is not how she works. She is a unit where Viktor, I'm talking about Viktor. What am I saying? But Viktor, his damage, you know, if he hits 10 units, he does, you know, a little bit to all of them. And if he hits, you know, one unit, he does that same damage to all of them. And so putting him in the middle allows him to hit the majority of the units on the board, and just getting a ton of extra AoE damage. So always throw your Viktor in the middle. This kind of positioning looks very, very nice. And yeah, we'll go into last augment here. Belt Overflow just hit explosive. I think we're kind of good on items. I guess worst case you could... I hate this augment so much. It's just 2 lucky item chests. I mean, it's items and gold, but like, yeah, I mean, I don't really want any of these. And the champ dupe is not that exciting to me either. I'm surprised that he doesn't roll belt first here, but maybe he's thinking, I could still take some tank items for my front line. I guess so. It's just like just hit seems so unsatisfying as well. I really just want a good combat augment. Yeah, and he ends up having to take Belt Overflow and says, you know what, okay, I can still make a bunch of belt items for frontline here. And yeah, I can also make Striker's Flail on backline here, which is great. And then we can just Morello the Maokai. This is something that I've done before. Maokai has a pretty big AoE on his ability. So you can just throw this onto him. He will actually hit the majority of the front line here. So yeah, makes a lot of sense, and we're going to get hopefully a win. Ooh, that was so close against the other player who was lost streaking, right? It's a big win because every single fight we win is a fight where we can kind of delay our roll down. If we take a big loss, then we're going to have to send it. And he's actually even going to send it this round, saying, you know what, we're close enough. I want to buy units here. Let's just send, see what we can hit. We hit Viktor 3 at the last moment. That is a huge pickup for us here, going to spike us really, really hard, and very good versus this board, who randomly has this Graves 2 out of luxury subscription. Man, Graves from luxury subscription sounds so broken. You get the early upgrades, and then you get the guaranteed Graves 2. That is so good. Oh my god. And yeah, at this point we can just take a component anvil, just take more items. I know we already have so many items, but I guess looking at this game, the bunch of bows, the bunch of belts, you really can't have too many items in this comp, especially if you're able to go for all your 3 stars, because obviously you need 9 items, really 8 items to get out of bed. You need, you know, 3 Viktor item, 3 MF item, 3 tank item, and, you know, Viktor gets an extra one from the drone. So you have that going for you already, but then you have these 2 other tanks that you can itemize. In this spot, you know, we have triple item Rost, but then we have Ornn, who's got nothing, and Maokai, who's getting some stuff, or, you know, vice versa. If you have Maokai 3 as your main tank, you have items on Maokai, then you have the Ornn and the Rost who need items. And so you are pretty much, especially in a spot like this where you have all of these free rerolls allowing you to pick up everything that we could ever want here. We're even going to go for Maokai as well, and yeah, we're going to send it this round. Gonna have to skip out on something, which should be Maokai here because we're closer to everything else. And so yeah, Maokai might be the one that we skip on, but we are going to roll it down and find everything else here. Going to move items over to the Ornn here, and he sadly is not the world's best Morello's holder, but I mean, he'll do a little bit of work with it, and, you know, maybe we can move it somewhere else later. It's funny, we have all these damage items, so we don't have a good spot to throw it onto. Who you'd want to throw it onto, who is, you know, this guy, the Viktor, is going to immediately take this here because this does give us a Warmog's Crown Guard here that we can very easily make, and yeah, just going to go for the raw tank items onto the Ornn here. Ornn really kind of hates any kind of like casting style items. You know, he doesn't like stuff like Crown Guard or Vow because his ability is kind of ass. Really what you want from Ornn, imagine that this Ornn unit doesn't have an ability, and all you have to know about this Ornn is that the big benefit is they start to combat with an extra item or a radiant item, depending on, you know, what you got on him. And we are even going to throw the anomaly onto Maokai here and just use Ornn to print the 3rd last real item onto him. Not even worry so much about Ornn printing, you know, a radiant item. Just say, I'd rather just have items on all my frontliners and get a last item onto Ornn. So it makes sense though. I mean, getting the Merlo onto Maokai makes a lot of sense. The anomaly onto Maokai guy is pretty good. Now we get an extra component from that, the Echo that we took, so now we can just Gargoyle the Ornn. And once again, right, pure tank items onto him. We do not need Vow, not need Crown Guard. It's just all, you know, Declaws, Bramble Vests, Warmogs, Gargoyles, anything that just gives this guy raw tank stats is what you want to throw onto him. But yeah, at this point, we have well and truly hit onto our board here. We have this perfect setup onto Viktor, and honestly, pretty close to perfect setup onto Misfortune as well. The IE kind of necessary onto her for the same reason as Viktor. You just want to get that spell crit on these units that can cast a lot. You know, Giant Slayer, Guardbreaker, fantastic pairs for these. Positioning wise for other guys. So Maokai we're just going to throw in the middle because we have the Morello and we want to play around, you know, him hitting as many units as possible. The Rost you do want on the edge here so that he can wrap and get that nice line with his ability. It's kind of similar almost to Kiana from last set where he throws his thing in a line, and so being able to be on the edge and hit multiple units in a row is really, really big here. And then the last one to kind of talk about is Misfortune. She is a really interesting unit who I have not perfected her positioning yet, but what I've found is that oftentimes, because she is doing her cast, I mean, we can show it in the next fight here, but because she is doing her cast in this kind of, in this like line, you do kind of want her, it seems like opposite side from enemy carry, because she can do this cast in a very, very long line. If you see a cast like this, where, yeah, she's just shooting the first couple of units. Oh, actually, I'm thinking of the other MF, the multicaster MF. This one is, she just shoots a bunch of bullets. Okay, honestly, she shoots a bunch of bullets. I mean, I don't think there's actually that much to perfect in that casting. It's really just, I'm going to shoot the units closest to me with a ton of bullets. So honestly, you just throw her in the corner. I don't think you have to worry too much about her. If you are playing multicaster MF, which is a really fun line, I do think you do want her in such a situation where she's kind of like opposite from the most important units so that she can just do those big lines. And by the way, man, maybe we'll do a multicaster reroll game tomorrow. I played Lulu reroll the other day, and by the other day, I mean yesterday on PBE, and that comp felt so fun. I did end up, my scores with it were like 7th because I played a bad version of it, and then like top 4, but just 4th, I think, maybe 3rd. So is it broken? Yes. I just have to play more of it, probably. I think it's one of those lines. That's probably one of the least optimized line. This line, I think people realized very quickly, this is the exact board you play. It gets all the traits in for you for, you know, Ross. If you hit Ross 3, big thing, obviously, about hitting Ross 3 that, you know, we haven't talked about, but is very true, is that it gives you more stats, right? Redeemer scales with star level, and so getting Ross 3 gives you even more stats from what you got going on here, which is just gravy on everything that's happening here. We rotate to a pretty strong Nami LeBlanc Bard Curse Crown board. Wow, that is a crazy board from this player, but we are able to beat it, and it is a first from Kojnid. I want to just go back and look at that board real quick. Wow, this is so cool. They have the Elder Dragon in, they have 5 Shepherd in. What a cool board here. My God. All right. Shout outs to Fury PBE. This guy is cooking. And shout out to Kojnid for, you know, just an easy dub on his bread and butter reroll comp. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, comment, and subscribe. Check out my Twitch. My Metafy, we are still, signups for Legendary Tacticians are open. We still have a few slots left open, but you know, I cannot guarantee that, you know, any will be left open. So if you are interested in getting one-on-one coaching with me bi-weekly, playing in tournaments, getting access to the group sessions, which we are doing another group session here tonight, Thursday at, what time is it usually? 6 p.m. Eastern time. So if you guys are interested in a group session, we're going to be talking all of PBE meta. You're going to be doing tier lists, all this kind of stuff. Come check us out. It's an absolutely fantastic community. I love that community. Just really, really tight knit. Players all interested in improving at the game. Go check out my Tactician University or my Legendary Tacticians program, which there are just a few slots left open. All right, see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching as always.